Looking for a smarter way to build and protect your wealth?
7K Metals gives you direct access to gold and silver at dealer direct pricing. No middleman, no inflated markups.
With an exclusive membership, you get financial security, expert resources, and even an opportunity to earn by sharing the benefits.
Plus, with the Sound Money wallet, buying and storing precious metals has never been easier.
Start building real assets today.
Visit KelbyandJoeSilver.com to learn more. Who we trust with our money.
Okay, that sounds good.
Except Joe, because he didn't want to join me.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show, the Isaac Hayes Show. We talk about life, we talk about liberty, and we talk about the pursuit of happiness. I am out of practice. As you can tell, I am out of practice. I hit the wrong button. It showed me before the intro. At least I got the ad right. Go ahead and check out KelbyandJoeSilver.com. I think that's what it is. You just heard the ad, ladies and gentlemen, of Kelby and Joe and their promotion of silver. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of there right now. Let's see. KelbyandJoeSilver.com. See, I got it. Yes, everybody, I've been out of practice, as you can tell. I'm just going to run with it, though. I'm not even going to worry about it because, guys, y'all have missed me. I have missed y'all. I've had people reach out and say, hey, what is going on? I will explain a little bit about it. But first, I got to tell you about Primetime Media. Guys, the newest website out there talking about news and politics and culture, PrimetimeMediaLA.com. You need to go check it out. The new home of the Isaac Hayes Show. We got all my podcasts up there, linked from Apple Podcasts. And look, I'll go ahead and I send them stories. They post it up. We have a lot that we do throughout the day, but Kelby, Joe, and myself, we go ahead and we try to put stories up there, and they do a great job. They do most of the work, and I appreciate that. But PrimetimeMediaLA.com, go ahead and check them out. We're also giving away some AirPods and a Yeti cup, a customized Yeti cup. You need to go check that out. PrimetimeMediaLA.com, PrimetimeMediaLA.com. Go ahead and check it out. Also, go check out the shows on there, Kelby and Joe's show. Go ahead and check out Kelby Talks. And they're also, they gave me some inside scoop that there's some more shows coming up. You need to go check them out. Also, go check out KelbyandJoeSilver.com if you want to go ahead and invest in the silver game, the economy game, whatever way you want to say it. I'm not smart like that. Okay, see, Kelby got the doctorate degree or whatever he got, the master's degree, whatever. He went to college. Joe's going to college. I'm the guy I'm the blue collar worker that works and tries to survive and live for the Lord Jesus Christ. On the note of where I've been, to be honest with you, I've just been all over the place. So not last Friday, but the Friday before, came into the studio, and the computer over here was just running slower than molasses. And in the morning, I only have a short amount of time to get this show recorded and get it uploaded. My mom normally helps me by finishing the upload. And that Friday, I just couldn't. I was trying my best. And look, this was the funny thing about it, okay? I didn't have to go to work right away. I was preaching that Friday morning. And I was trying to do everything, and it just would not work. The equipment was going out. It was unpleasant Friday morning. I went ahead and preached. I didn't even care about the show at that point. I was so frustrated, and not to say I didn't care about you guys. Guys that are in the chat or watching or listening to the show, I really, really care about you guys. But I was just so frustrated. And the Monday after, I couldn't get up. I had a long weekend with a youth group. I had to work on the Saturday. I've been working the last couple of Saturdays, so usually my day off, where I rest and I prep and I do other things, I couldn't do it. And Sunday we had council sessions or, discipleship sessions and all that stuff. Church on Sunday, I was just burnt out. I was burnt out that day. Was planning on doing it on the Wednesday, and the Friday work schedule was hectic. I couldn't get into the studio. to do the show. So that is why today I'm going to have a lot of stories that I've been holding up, the stories that I really want to talk about. So today is not going to be everything that happened this weekend. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that happened throughout the last week and that Friday, if it's in the story. But that's where I've been at. And guys, this is why I ask for your support. You know, at the bottom we have a subscription tab that you can go to Rumble. Rumble will go ahead and put that subscription to me. On TikTok, I have a subscription page. I have all that stuff. It's just I just don't have time to mess with that. And this is one reason why I did team up with Primetime Media, because Primetime Media, they're going to go ahead and push a lot of my content. And I'm glad that Kelby asked me to come and be part of this, because he goes ahead and does a lot of brunt of the work for us. And look, real good guy, Kelby Dago. Go ahead and check out his show, Kelby and Joe's show, or Kelby Talks. He's doing a lot of good things at Primetime Media. And hopefully one day we can get enough subscribers and enough people to engage with us on that, to where me, Joe, and Kelby could go ahead and say, hey, this is our job. That's what we're hoping for. Or I'm praying that the Lord opens up a door for me to be a full-time minister. Because I looked at this the other day, and I'm going to give you some, again, this is why I like podcasting. I could just share my heart, especially when it's by myself. My goal in life is to be a full-time minister. I feel that God called me to be a pastor. And yes, I am a youth pastor of a church right now, and I'm waiting for when God opens that door for me. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know what the circumstances are going to be, but God told me that, hey, I'm going to be a pastor of a church. And I don't know. I really don't know what the timing is for me and the Lord yet. I do know this. I prayed right before 2024 ended, I think it was, and the Lord told me 2025 is your year. And God has answered prayers for me so far these 3 months. It's March 3rd today when this episode is released. God has been blessing me. God has been showing me all kind of stuff, and it's the same thing with this show. I love politics, but I just don't want this all to be about politics. I want this to be more like a vlog, where hey, I'm talking to you, and there's something on my heart. And this is one reason why I changed the name of the show from the Cage Conservative to the Isaac Hayes Show, because you label conservative. It's funny, you label something conservative, and the first thing you think of is politics. My name, you think of a legendary singer from back in the day. But my goals in life is to serve the Lord and do whatever He wants me to do. So if the Lord wants me to be a full-time podcaster and get all kind of views and make a living that way, hey, it's going to happen. I put my faith and trust in Him. If He wants me to be a full-time minister, it's going to happen one day. I just don't know when, and I don't know how, but it's gonna be there. And look, I love the Lord with all my heart. You guys know this already. I love the Lord with all my heart. I love Him with all my soul, and I want to serve Him. Earlier we was praying. And the Lord gave me a message about being a man of God. And I started thinking about that. Toxic masculinity. You hear the left talk about this all the time. But being a man or doing manly things, it's wrong, it's evil. But God tells us to be man, but also if you're a Christian, to be a godly man. Walk upright, have good conduct. One that I'm having issues with, hey, you got to be at work on time every time. And God is dealing with me on a lot of things, but we need to be men of God. We need to stand up for the truth. That's one thing that bothers me when I see men that are not standing up for the things that are right. Just not things that are right, but things that are right in God's eyes. And this is something that I'm hopefully in the future I can go ahead and break down a little bit. But going back to my goals are to serve Jesus and to glorify Him. And look, this show is all you see the new cover art. It has the cross on it. I want to represent Jesus. I don't want to represent myself, because I can't do anything by myself. But I can represent Jesus, and Jesus is the one that helps me through it. And look, I know we have people that listen on Rumble on a daily every time the show's up. We have at least 30 people listening. We talk about this being a big show or being something that will reach thousands and thousands. The 30 that's in here right now, possibly 30 that's in here right now. This is not live, but the people that are in the chat right now. If God wants me to reach out to you, this is why those 30 are listening, or the 40 or the 20, whatever the number is. It might be 2 right now. I don't know. But God wants me to speak to you guys, and I'm going to glorify Him. And yeah, look, I am debating on changing the time of the shows. I'm going to let all you guys know that. And if that becomes official, I'll let you know. For my work schedule. It's just not my work schedule, but my ministry schedule. Because, with a 40 to 50 hour job, sometimes like this week, 60 hours working, it's hard to go ahead and do this in ministry. And look, y'all keep me in prayer. If you're a praying person and you love the Lord, pray for me because I'm asking for wisdom right now. Because this show is important to me. I love doing this show. I love going ahead and speak to everybody, speak from my heart, tell you what God has showed me, what I think about certain news stories and all that good stuff. I love this show. But if it gets in the way of God, I'm not going to do it no more. And I've considered that. Look, let me just end this thing. But every time I start thinking about that, the Lord says, I gave you a voice. And okay, I see big time podcasters, Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all these people. They're talking to thousands of people. And I had to come to the realization with the show because I was always thinking, man, I want to be that next person. I want to be the next Rush Limbaugh. I want to, name anybody in the conservative media or just in media in general. I wanted to be that person, but I'm starting to realize something. What if God has, just help me reach a small amount of people, and them small amount of people go to another small amount of people. Look how many people we impacted. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about numbers or being famous. As we're going to talk about Dan Bongino and Graham Allen later on in the show, I do have their stories in the mix. Sometimes it's not about the numbers. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about doing what you were called to do. And look, I feel that God called me to be a content creator. I love to talk, as you can tell. None of this is scripted. I just love to talk. I love talking about the Lord. I love talking about politics. I love talking about all of this stuff. And God gave me a voice, so I'm going to use that voice. Just like the Lord gave the voice to Two Mics Live, like the Lord gave the voice to Amber May, like the Lord gave the voice to Dan Bongino. All these people, God gave them a voice for a reason. And look, Kelby and Joe, God gave them a voice for a reason, and we need to glorify Him in that. Now, your religion could be different. I don't know. I don't know everybody's religion on these shows that listen to me. But I do know this. I know that God is going to go ahead and do something with our voices. These small voices, God's going to bring out bring something good. And look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This might be adding to my plate, but, I feel God called me to write books. My brother already does. And, I just look at it, but I'm going a different direction than my brother. My brother does dreams that God gave him and turns them into stories. I want to talk more on the lines of theology and things. I already got 2 ideas for books. I need to find time to do it. And yesterday, I was praying and the Lord really put it on my heart. And that's something I need to start being more dedicated to. So y'all keep me in prayer for that. It's just, there's a lot going on, but it's like every time I think about saying I'm going to quit this, the Lord tells me no. And a while back, I took a 3-month break from this. And the Lord revealed all kind of stuff to me. He showed me to change the name. He showed me to do it differently. And that's what I want to do. I want this. I just don't want this show to be about politics. I want this show to be about life. Yes, and life does involve politics. But I feel, look, if the Lord tells me to tell y'all something, I'm going to say it. And look, I'm gonna say this in the most respectful way as possible. If you don't like me talking about the Lord, go ahead and you don't have to listen. I'm sorry, there's something going on outside. I don't know. But on that point, I hope you do listen. I hope you stay and do listen and hear the gospel and hear the good news of Christ. And look, again, I just, I hope. But also I know people, they have certain beliefs. And, if you don't want to stay here, I understand. But I'm going to do what the Lord tells me to do. So, all right, with that being said, I do have some politics that I do want to talk about. Or I guess I could say some subjects I would like to bring out. And the first thing I have to talk about, and look, I was so upset that this didn't happen when I had to do a show the next day. I had to wait a whole 3 days to talk about this. And that is the incident with Zelenskyy going to the White House. As we know, it was said on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, Trump announced that he had made a deal with Zelenskyy on the minerals. And look, we need this, okay? We need this as much as Ukraine needs the deal as well. And what it is that I think it's Germany or some other country, they basically told us, or it might be Russia, I don't know, somebody out there said, look, you can't have our minerals no more. Might have been China, I don't know. Some country out there, I'm to cover all my bases, some country out there told us that we could not have raw earthly materials no more. And Donald Trump said, well, look, that's okay. Ukraine got it. So he called Zelenskyy, and Zelenskyy at first, look, I have my feelings about Zelenskyy, and I will tell you about my feelings about Zelenskyy on this subject. But Zelenskyy at first said, no, no. We need securities. We need this. We need this. And then all of a sudden he came around. I don't know who talked to him and said, listen, you need to listen to Donald Trump. He was trying to make it like, oh, well, our parliament has to decide. Their parliament's like, yeah, let's do it. We're going to make money. And Zelenskyy was, well, I guess. So they made the announcement that he was going to go ahead and sign this mineral deal on Friday while visiting the White House. And Zelenskyy shows up to the White House in no suit, mind you. Now, look, I'm not against this, okay? Because let's make this point. Elon Musk, a couple of weeks ago, showed up with a jacket and a T-shirt and was wearing a ball cap. If that was anybody but Elon Musk, they would have got crucified too. But Elon Musk did get crucified. He did get slandered because he didn't wear the proper attire into the White House. Now Trump was cool with it. Trump said, "Come on in, Elon. You're the most rich man in the world, the richest man in the world. I'm not going to worry about you not wearing a suit." But the left, how dare he? How dare he not wear a suit? How dare he not respect the president of the United States and respect the Oval Office? On a note, you didn't hear that about Zelenskyy. I have not yet heard a left-leaning news person or a left-leaning congressman or a senator gripe about Zelenskyy not showing up in a suit. This man looked like he was wearing silk pajamas. I'm seeing the picture right here on my iPad. This man, the reason he did it, he don't respect Donald Trump. He says he does. He goes on Bret Baier and says, oh, I respect the president of the United States. He says he respects, but he does not show up like he's respecting the president of the United States. And the reason the left don't say nothing about him not wearing a suit is because they don't respect Donald Trump. Look, I don't care what the left says, okay? The left does not respect the current president of the United States. I will even take a step further. I have said, in under the Biden years, if I was invited to the White House, I don't wear a suit, I would have went find one. And I would respect President Joe Biden. If I meet President Joe Biden today, I do not agree with his policies. I think he was the worst president of the United States. I think he has done more harm than anybody in that Oval Office. But if I would meet President Joe Biden right now, I would respect him. Now, there might be some conservatives that would say, oh, Isaac, you're taking that too far. No. You need to respect the president, and Zelenskyy did not. Walking into the White House without a suit, without the proper attire. And he goes in there. They were planning to sign this mineral deal. They were going to have lunch. Donald Trump rolled out the welcome mat for him. Now, we know with Donald Trump, this happened last week. I was planning on talking about it again. Had a whole show prepped up, couldn't get to the studio. But Donald Trump called him a dictator because of the election stuff. Now, I want to make this point right here because I did not agree with that statement. But at the same time, I understand Donald Trump's point. See, that's a difference. This man has, and look, under martial law in their country, they cannot hold an election. That's their country's law. But if Zelenskyy believed in democracy, he would have said, listen, let's try to go ahead and have an election. Now, Donald Trump made some statements about like people not liking him, which Mark Levin rightfully told the truth and said, listen, he had a 57% approval rating in Ukraine. This is Zelenskyy. People like Zelenskyy in Ukraine. Now, right now, they're not. And we're going to explain why in a few minutes. Their parliament has called for him to be impeached. All because of this outburst into the Oval Office. But Donald Trump made that statement. I'm like, but a lot of people think this was a bargaining tool because he made this point. It got so far where Zelenskyy said, look, I'm willing to resign if it means peace. He made that statement, and when Bret Baier asked him on Fox News, are you willing to resign? He pushed back the statement. But anyway, he shows up to the White House to sign this deal. according to sources, Zelenskyy said, hey, can we bring the media in here? Now, Zelenskyy wanted the media there. Donald Trump should have had a red flag right there, but Donald Trump being the man he is, him and J.D. Vance, said, yeah, we have the media there. And look, they're talking about Ukraine. They're talking about how Ukraine is a good country and they need to find room for peace and all this stuff. They're talking about it. And J.D. Vance, now I'm giving you context because when I told somebody the other day that Zelenskyy started this, they blew up. Oh, no, he did not. J.D. Vance started it. J.D. Vance made a statement to the press about diplomacy. I want to stop right there too, because you know the left always talks about diplomacy. We should have diplomacy. We should talk. We should not go ahead and fight war. And when Republicans are like war, Democrats are like diplomacy. Except with Ukraine. You notice this, all Democrats are gun-ho in fighting for Ukraine. For some reason or another. We don't know why. I still say there's something shady going on in Denmark. Well, not Denmark, Ukraine. You know what I'm talking about. But it's no diplomacy. We need to fight Putin, and we need to annihilate Putin, and we need to defeat Russia. The thing of it is, Ukraine will not defeat Russia. Okay, another good friend of mine that I've had on this show multiple times talking about the Biden in his book, talking about Biden's and his books that he wrote and all this stuff, said the same thing. We need to support Ukraine. I'm not against Ukraine. I'm not against them fighting for their freedoms. I'm not. But for the last 3 years, we've had a president of the United States in Joe Biden, before Donald Trump, give them a blank check and say, look, we're going to give you as much money as well. And you had the UK, you had France, you had Germany, you had all these people. Yes, America, give them money. Yes. And they're sitting on the sidelines. Now, they probably gave some humanitarian aid or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying, every other country was sitting back while the United States gave them the bulk of their money. And you know who benefited from that? And look, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but Zelensky's benefited from this war. Come on, you're telling me before this war, this man didn't have hardly nothing. Now he has a yacht and several homes while his people are suffering, and the Ukrainian people don't see this. I don't know if they run propaganda schemes. I don't know. Does the state run the media? I don't know. But this man is very wealthy. He says he cares for them, but look, I'm not against the people of Ukraine. I'm against how this man is running Ukraine right now. And this man's not coming to the table, and he's not talking peace. Yes, Isaac, he went to the White House and talked about peace. No, he didn't. He was going there to sign a mineral deal that he wanted to do. Hey, I want to sign it in the White House. Then he calls for the media. Do you think there was an agenda there? J.D. Vance again, though, makes a statement about diplomacy and he makes this. I'm not quoting verbatim, but J.D. Vance basically said, look, we had a president for several years that did not want to talk about peace, but talk about war. We want to talk about diplomacy. We want to have diplomacy with these countries. Now, Zelensky's statements were hit on the nail. He gave a brief summary about how Ukraine has been suffering with Russia and how they tried diplomacy. They did cease fire and everything. The way his tone was, though, he was basically telling J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, y'all don't know anything. Now, Donald Trump did interrupt him in one point of this exchange when he made a statement about 2014, 2015, and Donald Trump looked at him and said, wait, 14 and 15? Oh, yes. He said, well, I wasn't here. But according to Zelenskyy, this has been going on for several years, how even Donald Trump, they lost land. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong. Fact checkers, don't hold me accountable. I'm just saying, I'm trying to remember. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I don't think I am. I don't think Ukraine lost any land with Russia during the Trump years. You know why? When it was started by them invading Ukraine, you remember that? Look, I remember that at the G7 summit, I think it was, or some summit they had, where Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met, and he was thinking about invading Ukraine. Trump told him, don't you dare. Look, all you left-leaning nuts don't remember this. Don't you remember in that summit, they shook hands and Donald Trump said, don't you dare. Don't you go after Ukraine. Did Putin go after Ukraine? No, he waited until the bumbling idiot Joe Biden got in there. Sleepy Joe was sleeping. And Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine under a Democrat, by the way. lost land under a rhino Republican, George Bush, lost land under the Democrat, Barack Obama, and lost land under a Democrat, Joe Biden. Donald Trump was the only one I don't believe that lost. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Zelensky said till 2022. No. Donald Trump was in there. And Donald Trump, don't you dare invade Ukraine. He waited to invade Ukraine when Biden got in there. Why? Because he knew Biden was weak. Now, of course, some critics would say Biden is irrelevant. What happened in the Oval Office? No, he's not. Because it's his mess. Yes, he did not start the war. I had two people tell me that. Putin started this war. I'm not talking about the war. I'm talking about the spending situation where they had a blank check and Zelensky is really comfortable right now. But anyway, it started a huge argument. And Donald Trump at one point told Zelensky to shut up. He put Zelensky in his place. You might disagree with me on that, but I think that shows strong leadership. You're not going to come into my house, into my country, and tell me how we're going to feel. Zelensky, y'all going to feel it. Y'all have a nice blue ocean, but y'all going to feel it. And Donald Trump said, you're not going to tell us how we're going to feel. You're not going to tell us how we're going to go ahead and suffer. It got to a point where they were supposed to have lunch. The lunch didn't happen. The sources says the staff ate it. They had a real good lunch. But according to the Daily Caller, Trump kicked Zelensky out of the White House and said, get out of here. Trump also put on a Truth Social. On his Truth Social, he said, look, he said, Zelensky ain't coming back until he's ready to talk about peace. Okay, he was arguing about them having a ceasefire. But Zelensky goes on X and says all kind of stuff too. We thank America for letting us come into the White House. Did not tell people that he was kicked out. Then he goes on a media tour. This is why I say this was all shit. I think Zelensky had this plan to try to make Donald Trump and J.D. Vance look stupid, and it backfired on him. Went to Fox News, went to several other news outlets, and he tried to pull back. Now, he said, I caught an article earlier, that he wants to sign a new mineral deal. He wants to sign it. Well, great. Come sign it, but talk about peace. But now let's talk about the media's response, because the media, the left-leaning media, and even some Republicans, I have to announce this, some Republicans are taking his side. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they were trying to be bullies. How dare they disrespect Zelensky in our country? The man disrespected us first. But the left is taking, and like I said, some prominent Republicans are taking Zelensky's side as well, saying that it was wrong for Donald Trump and them to put him in his place. No, it was not. It was strong leadership. The last president would have let him talk. The last president would have made him make us feel like a fool. But not Donald Trump. You don't come into our country and try to criticize us. Again, $350 billion of our taxpayer dollars was sitting in that Oval Office and decided to go ahead and disrespect us. That $350 billion went to that country. Again, I'm not against the war in Ukraine for them trying to keep their sovereignty. I'm not against Ukraine fighting to protect themselves. I am not. Russia was wrong to invade Ukraine. I will make that statement till the day I die. But the way that Joe Biden and Zelensky was handling it, and Zelensky still is handling it, is wrong. Again, the left. Listen to this. Listen to this post from Politico. Trump and Vance attacked Zelensky in remarkable Oval Office exchange. They did not attack him. He started out attacking us. All J.D. Vance said was, hey, well, we need to try diplomacy. And Zelensky was saying, no. Oh, I don't want to try. I'm not trying diplomacy. And he was trying to make Donald Trump and J.D. Vance look like a fool, but it backfired on him because everybody in this country, well, majority of the people in this country took Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's side. Now, I want to ask the question, though. Why do you think Zelensky did this? Again, when you start hearing about it, he wanted the cameras in here. He wanted to come to America and sign this deal. He wanted to do something in an Oval Office. Maybe it was this exchange. I don't know. Because this does happen behind closed doors. We had a report from Fox News that, and this is the report, Trump isn't the first U.S. commander-in-chief to lose patience with Zelensky. Resurfaced a 2022 report. This talks about when Biden was on the phone talking to Zelensky, and he lost his cool with Zelensky. The thing of it is, it was behind closed doors. This wasn't. Maybe this is what Zelenskyy wanted to see. He maybe knew they would blow up. I don't know. He maybe was trying to trigger them. I don't know. But there was like I said, there's something fishy in Denmark. I'm just saying. Why did Zelenskyy want this to come? Why did Zelenskyy want to do this way? I think it was to have something blow up where he wouldn't have to sign the mineral deal because he didn't want to begin with. And secondly, he don't want a peace deal. Isaac, how dare you say that? No, he don't want a peace deal. Because I've learned this. He wants everything his way and nobody else's way. He wants Russia to bend. He wants Russia to give all the land back. And Russia should give all the land back. In principle, I agree with him. But it's not going to get done. Like Donald Trump told him in that exchange in the Oval Office, we have all the cards. The only cards you have is because we gave you some. We threw an ace underneath your table so you can have a chance against Russia. But is it happening? No, because again, I don't think Zelenskyy wants peace. Why? Because he's not fighting a war. Yes, Ukraine has soldiers and everything like that, but he don't have to flip the bill for this war. America has been paying it $350 billion. Look, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years in, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was $700-something billion we spent on Iraq. Several years that we were in Iraq. It's 350. He's getting close to halfway point. Everybody's been paying his bills. Okay, let's use an analogy of this. Okay, I go ahead and I have a house, and I know he won't mind. I'm going to use Mike Calderese. Mike Calderese is not like this. Disclaimer. But Mike Calderese, okay, I go ahead and I have a house, and Mike Calderese says, listen, Isaac, I want to live in your house. And I tell him, okay, you can live in my house, rent is this, whatever. The first month, Mike Calderese don't pay my bills. I pay the rent. Well, I go ahead and I pay the lights, I pay the water, I pay everything. The next month after that, he don't pay. And he don't pay. He don't pay. He lives in the house for 4 years. Don't pay a bill, and I'm like, Mike Calderese should be paying his back, but I'm going to pay his bill. He's on hard times. While Mike Calderese is having parties and all this stuff. He's having a good old time in my house. But I tell Mike Calderese, hey, listen, I sold it to Scott Ford. Now, I'm going to use everybody. I'm just going to everybody on the I should have used Dr. Mike, but I'm not. I sold the house to Scott Ford. Scott Ford comes and says, hey, buddy, you got to pay the rent. Well, the last guy, I can hear Mike Calderese, the last guy let me live here for nothing. And you start having these intense battles. Well, look, okay, you're going to live free? Okay, you gotta come work for this. You got to do the trade. You get what I'm saying? And I know that's an analogy, but I'm bringing it close to home. That's how it is with Ukraine. Ukraine wants to have this fight. They want to fight the war. They want to go ahead, but they want everybody else to pay their bills. And Zelenskyy, and that's why I say Zelenskyy don't want peace. Why want peace when you're getting money? We're still giving money to them. That was already planned to give to them into the Biden administration. But see, no new money is going to them. And look, let's go back to the last half of Joe Biden's tenure as the White House, as the president of the United States. The last couple of weeks before Trump got in there, they were trying to push money every which way to Ukraine. They were trying to pass bills to send more money to Ukraine before Donald Trump got into office. This is why I say he don't want peace. And also, look, going to a third point, Todd Stearns reported this earlier. Several countries, including the UK, have said, listen, we're planning on putting planes. We're thinking about sending troops to Ukraine. And like Todd Stearns said, well, there you go, guys, World War III. And that's what the left wants, too. Okay, you think about it, okay? Maybe this is why the left is pushing for this. World War III didn't happen under Joe Biden. But if it happens under Donald Trump, guess who they're going to blame? Donald Trump led us into World War III because of his arrogance and stupidity. And all the time, it was Biden that was pushing for war. Donald Trump's pushing for peace. Donald Trump has talked to Russia. Russia is ready to make a ceasefire, and Russia is also ready to make a peace deal. Guess who's the people that are stopping it? Ukraine. It takes two to tango, guys. It takes two to tango. And look, overall, like again, I think Donald Trump did the best thing. He put Zelenskyy in his place. I saw a meme the other day, had Joe Biden hugging Zelenskyy and said America last at the bottom, and had Donald Trump saying shut up. It said America first. Because at the end of the day, look, Zelenskyy has to do this for his country as well. He has to put his country first. But, buddy, when you're dealing with American taxpayer dollars, I still don't understand why we're in Ukraine. I don't. I don't know. Maybe Zelenskyy should go ahead and look up KelbyandJoeSilver.com. Invest in silver. If you heard the ad at the beginning, Kelby and Joe are they have this new website, KelbyandJoeSilver.com. You can go ahead and invest into silver and make some good investments. Go ahead and check that out. If you can. And that's what Zelenskyy should do. Zelenskyy should go ahead and check out KelbyandJoeSilver.com. All right, let's keep on going. So as you know, last week was a big deal. Kash Patel was confirmed in a narrow Senate vote to become the next FBI director. This is big news. Kash Patel already has plans, and him and Pam Bundy has been planning a lot of stuff. And this is a great thing. I think Kash Patel is going to go ahead and change a lot in the FBI. But unfortunately, he has changed a lot outside the FBI. The reason I'm talking about this is because and also the Department of Defense, we're going to talk about Graham Allen a little bit. It's two of the biggest names in conservative radio or conservative podcasting has joined the Trump administration. Kash Patel will have a great number 2 on his side, and that is Dan Bongino. If you're a follower of Dan Bongino, it was last Monday. Dan Bongino, and I heard the podcast. He almost cried on his podcast. I didn't hear his radio program, but Dan Bongino announced, Trump announced on Sunday evening that Dan Bongino will be the deputy director of the FBI. If you had any doubts about Kash Patel, your doubts should not be concerned no more. Why do I say that? Because we know who the deputy director is. Okay, look, I'm gonna say this. Look, none of us on this show, or none of us in this Rumble chat, ever met Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino, though, if you listen to his show, you hear his heart. It's the same thing with here. Okay, look, I just went through whole 20 minutes. Or somewhat, 15, 20 minutes of talking about my feelings to you guys. Yeah, look, I don't go into I don't go into every aspect of my life, but you become like family. And you know what Dan Bongino is thinking. He don't hide nothing from you. If you have doubt, you should listen to Dan's show and say, listen, it's going now. I think it's the 17th or something like that is his last show. And look, this is hard for him. Okay, you've seen this is hard for him. He either has to have a replacement for his show, or he just got to stop it. And I think he's stopping it. But like he said, I wouldn't feel right. Okay, the president called on me to serve, and I'm telling you to go out there and serve. I don't feel right if I wouldn't do it. Now this tender for Dan Bongino is at least 10 years if they keep Kash Patel in there. And unfortunately, a Democrat will win in the next 4 years. But Dan Bongino will be in there. Now, we also, again, I do want to make this out. Now, this came from E&E News by Politico. Pentagon communications job goes to podcasters, and it says who spreads conspiracy theories. But they're talking about Graham Allen. Now, Graham Allen has some views that I might, but Graham Allen is the guy that started Dear America. Don't you remember? I think it was 2015, 2016, somewhere around that era, where you had a guy that was a former military and going on in his truck saying Dear America and go on this rant. Went viral. He also had a lot going on for a lot, going towards his way until COVID and everything like that. But he still survived. He has an exclusive deal with Rumble. Now, Chad Prather, another podcaster, has taken over the roles of host of Dear America. And Chad Prather, I used to listen to him a lot. I haven't listened to him too much, but now he's the host of the Graham Allen Show. See, he has decided to give that duty to somebody else. But this is my issue with all this, because even when Graham Allen gave a great video explaining why he left. And look, this is some golden opportunities for Dan Bongino and for Graham Allen. I'm not going to hide that from him. To serve your country and to do it with a president that you agree with is amazing. Only my issue is, and look, I said this about Trump when he was first elected, and he was pulling Congress people from the halls of Congress. You have to be careful with it. If you remember when Donald Trump was asking certain people to be part of his cabinet, I said, look, we already have a slim majority in the House. When you have the special election stuff, we're probably going to have 3 or 4, but right now I think we only have 1, maybe 2. Donald Trump pulled Congress people. Yes, he could trust them. He wanted them in administration, but he should have thought about that before he pulled them out. Now, this is not as severe, but Dan Bongino and Graham Allen are some big voices. And their voices need to be heard. I'm gonna make that statement right here. Dan Bongino, look, he's not Rush Limbaugh. I've said that from the beginning. I like Dan, but I wish in his time slot, I wish Rush was still here with us. But Dan Bongino was the next one. But their voices speak sense. They make sense. Okay. Same thing with Graham Allen. I don't agree with everything with Graham Allen, but he was a voice on Rumble. And he drew in an audience. He is Dear America. Look, I don't know how much they have a faithful following at Dear America. I just don't know how long that show goes on. Okay, same thing with Dan Bongino. Look, Dan Bongino's stopping it. Look, probably in 10 years we'll hear Dan Bongino's revamping his radio program and his podcast. But look, I work 10 hours a day, and it's hard for me to do a podcast. They have a lot more responsibilities. But Dan Bongino has a plan for the FBI along with Kash Patel. I think they're on the same lines. Graham Allen says, look, him and Pete Hegseth, they're pretty good friends. He has a voice to shape the military the way it's going. So that benefits. But we're losing 2 conservative voices in the podcast side and the Rumble side and the radio side. Now, the question remains the same. Who's going to be next, though? Okay, I'm probably going to benefit from Dan Bongino leaving. Why do I say that? Because everybody that listened to Dan Bongino, I'm in the same time spot. I had a conversation with one of our monitors. Say, well, I'm going to say, Whitney, I hope you don't mind, but me and Whitney had a conversation a while back. Hey, look, maybe we should move the show to another time slot because Dan Bongino's in that spot, and there's so much people on Rumble that's watching Dan Bongino. I didn't know Dan Bongino was leaving. I just said, look, I'm going to stay in the spot. This is going to benefit me. Some of you people that were from 2 Mics Live that cross over, that raid us, a lot of y'all will go to Dan. Now, hey, I don't have nobody, so hey, come to me. I'll take everybody. I love everybody. But Dan Bongino is leaving, and that's a big conservative voice. And again, who's going to be the next one to step up? It might be 2 Mics Live. Might be Dr. Mike. Might be yours truly. It might be Amber May. I don't know. It might be Scott Ford. I don't know. But we have to hope there's somebody that can rise up to the ranks of Dan Bongino. It's going to be hard to fill the shoes of Dan Bongino. And look, on the radio side, I got a text from a good friend the other day that said, hey, look, one of our local radio stations that Dan plays on, they're going to have a big hole to fill. I don't know who they're going to fill in that spot. Okay, now you do have the 2 guys, I forgot their names, but the ones that took over Rush's spot, the official, the replacements of Rush Limbaugh. And I can't think of the name. If I look them up, Clay Travis and something like that. I don't know. But will they go ahead and take that spot? Okay, let's use them for example. Like I said, I don't know their names, and guys, forgive me if you're listening, but let's use that though. Okay, it took 2 people to fill Rush's spot. 2, and they're not even reaching the market like Rush did. Maybe it's time for Tucker Carlson to make a radio program and take in that spot. I don't know. I don't know who it would be. I really don't. Like I said, yours truly might get a phone call from one of these big networks and say, hey, we heard your podcast. You want to be national syndicated radio host? Yeah, let's go. I don't know. I did tell you at the beginning of the program, God told me 2025 is my year. I don't know. Will it be Matt Walsh? Will it be who will take that role? That's the question I'm asking too. Because again, going back to that, Donald Trump took 2 of his allies and brought them into his administration. That's good. The bad side of it is that we lost voices that we had that could go ahead and get to people that might not even hear. Okay, let's use, again, I'm using Rush Limbaugh as a lot for an example on this segment. Rush Limbaugh liberals listen to him. A lot of conservatives they were liberal when they listened to Rush, and Rush carried them over to the right side of the fence. But liberals would listen to Rush. Same thing with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino talks about all the hate mail he gets. There's left-leaning people that listen to Dan. I just don't know. And again, like Graham Allen. Look, Graham Allen went through a lot. And look, I'm glad both these men got an opportunity to serve the country. They also live in what they preach, because they tell us all the time, hey, if you have a voice, do it. Go talk. Go knock on doors. Go serve your country if you need to. And look, again, I'm not in that predicament. But what if I get a phone call tomorrow and it's President Donald Trump? I get a hello, hold for the President of the United States. And the President wants me to go be the national face of dog catching, or the national face for dog catchers. Am I really going to say no to the President of the United States? Like I said, there's a lot going on here, but I think I'm not worried about them doing their new jobs. I'm just worried about the hole who's going to fill those holes for those platforms. And let's pray that we have a deep bench. We do have people, Jesse Waters. We have I don't think Jesse would do it, but I'm just making the point. You know what's funny? I know this. I'm like, I know these people: Jesse, Dan, Tucker. I know all these people. I don't know none of these people. If I knew all these people, I wouldn't probably be in the predicament I'm in now. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. Some big announcements for races this week, and I'll start with the Republicans. No surprise, Vivek Ramaswamy officially launches his campaign to become governor of the state of Ohio. I think he wins it with his popularity of the national stage. And Ohio is a real heavy Republican state right now. It used to be a swing state. Excuse me, but it has moved more towards the right. I think Vivek Ramaswamy wins that one, especially with the endorsement of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has won Ohio every race I believe he's been in. I'm not worried about that one. Also, Byron Donalds, the congressman from Florida, has announced he's planning to run for governor of the state of Florida. No surprise there. I think he wins it, especially now getting the endorsement of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has already endorsed both these candidates. These two candidates have been very supportive of Donald Trump, even Vivek Ramaswamy, who in the debates disagreed with Donald Trump on a lot of things, but always stuck to, hey, Donald Trump is the guy. Let me say it like this. On the debate stage, when you were watching Vivek, you thought he was an ambassador. He was there for Donald Trump. Let's just say, like, he was an ambassador for Donald Trump and making a point. He's like, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. He praised Donald Trump. Now, will he get awarded for his faithfulness to Donald Trump? He got the endorsement. We're gonna have to wait and see. But Ron DeSantis I think he's termed out. And if Byron Donalds get in there, that's going to be a great pickup for them. He will continue the Republican vision that Ron DeSantis put in. And look, it's always good if you have a backup to a governor that is real good like Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis set the bar for a lot of governors, especially Republican governors. He set that bar. Now, this was a shocker to when I heard this was coming about, and we're going to be talking about Eric Adams a little later on. Hopefully in this episode. If not, we're gonna have to push back a little bit, but we'll see what happens. We might talk about it after this. And I think this is why it's happening. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo launches New York City mayoral bid. So Andrew Cuomo is kind of have a comeback. He's trying to. And if you remember, Andrew Cuomo had a lot of scandals with COVID and all that stuff that went on. He was disgraced as the governor of New York. Now, it's funny how this disgraced governor was disgraced in New York, liberal to the core, and this is how we got Kathy Hochul in there. I can't say her name right, that's why I say it. But he was disgraced, and he had a lot of things in his closet. Now, I'm interested if the Democrats are going to go ahead and do what they did to Donald Trump in this incident. And a lot of people might be saying, "Well, what you mean, Isaac? Remember Donald Trump running, and they threw everything at Donald Trump, including the kitchen sink." And they said people shouldn't vote for him because he was dishonest. He had all these scandals, and I wonder if they're going to praise Cuomo. I wonder. And again, I wonder if this is in the further plan. Let's go ahead and talk about that right now. there was a story. It was a couple of days ago. Well, last week, Kathy Hochul, the governor um, of New York, went ahead and announced guardrails around Eric Adams. Fox News also announced from Politico. Now, Fox News reported like this: New York governor to ramp up oversight of Eric Adams, aim pressure to remove him. So there is some pressure for the governor of the state of New York to remove Eric Adams. Now, I want to bring this point up to you right here. The governor and all the people in New York were not upset with Eric Adams until he met with Donald Trump's border czar and started falling in line with Donald Trump's policies. All of a sudden, they want to remove them. Now, is that really democracy? I just thought about it. Is that really democracy? The will of the people and the people of New York, the great big city, the Big Apple, voted Eric Adams in. Shouldn't y'all wait until an election to vote him out? No, there's calls to remove him forcefully. And they use his scandals and stuff. Donald Trump is asking the Department of Justice to drop his federal cases, and they have refused. So we will give the Department of Justice that. They are fair and balanced. And it's not bidding to Donald Trump like another Department of Justice did. But because that's another thing, too. Donald Trump was using the Department of Justice as his personal lawyers while Biden was doing it. But going back to that, they're using Eric Adams scandals and everything. We need to get rid of him. He's not looking good for New York to have a criminal for the mayor of New York City. But she puts up guardrails. Oh, you won't better do Donald Trump's immigration policies. And again, this all started. And like I said, I've been having this story for a while. This has been bubbling up, so I'm excited. But Eric Adams wasn't a problem until he started falling in line with Donald Trump and his border czar, Tom Homan. After that, that's when the left's lost it. A Democrat doing what Donald Trump wants to do. We're in trouble. Whatever the Democrats do with Donald Trump, and that's when it started going. And again, it's kind of funny. Now, I don't know his reasons. I didn't really dig into it, but 9 out of 10, they're pulling to somebody they know that probably could win. Andrew Cuomo was the governor of New York for a reason. His family is known. His dad was a governor. His brother was formerly on CNN, now on News Nation. Chris Cuomo. This man has national recognition, and he probably will win for mayor. Now, this goes to a point we just talked about Dan Bongino. Is New York sick enough of the old policies? People in New York are upset. Now, look, a lot of people don't like him left and right, but Rudy Giuliani, that's how he became mayor of New York. It got bad enough. Is it bad enough? Also, do we have anybody that could win that seat? Look, Lee Zeldin almost won for governor. The guy that ran against Eric Adams, can't remember his name at the moment, but he almost he had a real good shot of beating Eric Adams. Eric Adams won because I'm a cop. That was his slogan. I was a former police commander and all this stuff. I know how to get things done, and New York is still the same way. Yes, it has gotten a little better under his leadership, but it's not as good. And that's where we're going to see. But I just make that point. Democrats, we want democracy. We want democracy. But they're turning on their own people now. And this is where the Democrats are in a real bad situation. Okay, there's nobody to run these positions. They're going to find somebody. It's a left-leaning nut. But I'm just saying, they're going to find people to run this position. And look, if you're that desperate to go back to Andrew Cuomo, what did they promise Andrew Cuomo? Again, are we going to have the scandal talk? Because look, let's go back to Eric Adams. They're saying he needs to be removed because of his scandals, but you're going to put up somebody, and they're probably all going to endorse Andrew Cuomo. Somebody with a scandal. See the hypocrisy in that? I'm just making this point. All right. Some documents were released The Jeffrey Epstein contact list, AG Bundy released highly anticipated DOJ documents. This was look, I didn't even think about it when they, and I didn't even know they were doing this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm more interested in the JFK files and the MLK files than the Jeffrey Epstein files. We already know there was tons of politicians on that island. We already know probably the client list has been destroyed. We don't know, but we're assuming because it has not come out yet. Even Pam Bundy wrote a letter to Kash Patel and said, "Listen, you have a deadline to send us some stuff that the old administration did not want to send us." So there's a lot coming. There's a lot more coming out, but we already know that very well-known people and politicians were probably on that list, and they're trying to protect those people. Also, a lot of this stuff was already released. Okay, during the Maxwell, I think her name was Green Maxwell, whatever her name was. It came out in her trial, so that's already been done. Okay, a lot of this stuff we already knew already. I'm not really worried about. Look, Jeffrey Epstein that he has a lot of suspicion around his death. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is a conspiracy theory a lot about his death, but this was nothing. This was a nothing burger. Okay, I'm gonna use for example. I can't think of his name. A comedian on TikTok talked about this place. Everybody told him it was the greatest burger. He traveled 2 hours to go eat this burger, and when he took a bite of the burger, he said, "It's a burger. It wasn't nothing special." Okay. And he was like, "No, it's not, I'm not gonna drive 2 hours to eat this type of burger." The the expectation of that burger was so high that it let him down. And this is what this was. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein's contact list. He had Republicans and people waving the binders like, "Yay, yay, we got Jeffrey Epstein stuff." And it turned out to be everything we already knew. I won't be surprised until, if something major happens. And if something does, we're going to talk about it. But again, I know the JFK files and the MLK files are coming out. I am more interested in that, to be honest with you. Well, why are you interested in that, Ozzy? Because it's history. And look, will questions be answered around that? Probably not. Okay. MLK files and the JFK files will probably not. It probably be nothing burger too. They're gonna. Well, we had to redact this. We had to hide this because it's still top secret information on this case or that. I really want to see if they shot any new information. That's more on the history side of it. Will it? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, but I know conservatives. Some conservatives are upset that and they said this was a complete disappointment. But like I said, it was not there. Look. I heard Mike Caldery say this the other day, and he was like, "It was nothing, zilch, nada. There's nothing in these files that would make us make a whole episode." Okay, if you look at the top of the story, like the first story I talked about was Zelenskyy and Trump. That's my main story. You will not see Jeffrey Epstein files as a headliner for me. The reason being, like if I do a solo video on it, I might be able to put a title up, but that it was a nothing burger. It was a nothing burger, in my humble opinion. It was a nothing burger. So one more story, then we're gonna wrap this up and go to Handy News. Handy, we haven't rated you in a while. If you're listening, I'm excited. Also, thank Wendy Wild for being patient with me. I gotta give her credit, and everybody else being patient. Thank you guys. All right. Excuse me. Announced last week, Senator Mitch McConnell announced he will not run for re-election. The longest-serving Republican Senate leader. Think about this. Okay, he's the longest-serving Senate leader for the Republican side. It's finally starting to step down. This comes after multiple falls, him being wheeled in a wheelchair to the Senate. And look, I'm hoping the best for Mitch McConnell. But the last time we saw a lawmaker go to the Capitol in a wheelchair, it was Dianne Feinstein, and unfortunately, she passed away not too long after that. Now, I'm hoping the best for Mitch McConnell. I don't agree with a lot of his stuff, but I'm hoping the best for him. But ladies and gentlemen, term limits have to be talked about. Mitch McConnell is 83 years old. He's running back in 2026, meaning by the time he gets out of office, he'll be probably 84, 85 years old. Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s. Senator Bernie Sanders is in his 80s. You have a lot of people that are older than dirt in Washington, D.C. At this point, it's more like a nursing home than a national capital. We need term limits. This would be benefited for everybody. Okay, look, Congress does not have term limits. Senate doesn't have term limits. I'm going to give you a brief history lesson. Do you know that the President of the United States did not have term limits either? What do you mean? No, in the early part of our history, presidents did not have term limits. The two-term tradition came from George Washington. George Washington served 2 terms. He said, I'm done with politics. I'm done with leadership. I want to go home and I want to rest. And he was doing that until they bled him to death because they thought he had a blood disease, and they thought, well, if we drain the bad blood out, he's going to be okay. They didn't read the Bible where it says, hey, life is in the blood, and they drained out George Washington's blood, and guess what? They took too much. Funny how science has advanced throughout all the years. But blood, but George Washington, going back to George, I know I'm chasing a rabbit, but George Washington started that tradition of 2 terms. The longest serving president was Franklin D. Roosevelt. Franklin D. Roosevelt served 4 terms. Now, a lot of people think, well, this was because of the war. Partially, it was. But Franklin D. Roosevelt did not want to relieve his power. So he broke the tradition of 2 terms. He served almost close to 4 terms. Unfortunately, he died in office. Yes, again, he was the president in World War II. He served throughout all World War II, until the tail end of it. Then his vice president took over. I can't remember who he was at the moment, but Franklin D. Roosevelt was the longest serving president, but he served 4 terms because he could. He broke tradition. After that, that's when Congress and the Senate got together and said, hey, this 4-term president thing is not popular with the people. We need to set a term limit on the president. And that's when they amended the Constitution to say, hey, a president should only serve 2 terms. Now, a lot of people's like, oh, I study history. That's how I know this. This is historical fact. I wish they would have done Senate and Congress, but the reason they didn't do Senate and Congress even back then in the late 50s or early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, was because senators and congressmen knew, hey, we go ahead and set a term limit to ourselves. That means we're limited in power, and that means we're limited in our resources to make money. Me and my brother was talking about this, how politicians go in there dead broke and they come out wealthy millionaires. And why they stay so long? Well, because they get insider trading. That's okay. These people all have stocks in something, and it's funny, before the stock crashes, they sell everything at a high dollar, and they buy low stocks, and it goes up, and they sell. They have to have some information. It's against the law, but they have to have some information. I'm just making that point clear right there. But me and my brother talked about this earlier. But going back to that, this is why term limits need to get done, because imagine there's so much fraud in the United States, not fraud, there's so much corruption in the United States government right now. Donald Trump is fixing it with Doge, with the USAID and all this other stuff. Doge has been quiet for the last couple of weeks, but about 2 weeks ago we were talking about them every day. Doge is finding corruption on every level, and this is one reason why a lot of these politicians stay in there, because unfortunately they're part of the corruption. I'm not saying Mitch McConnell is. I'm just saying this should talk about term limits. Also, this brings out a new point. It's time for new leadership. John Thune, whatever his name is, he's been doing a real good job as Senate leader. He has fallen in line. They said this the other day. Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, and the one from Maine, Susan Collins. They were the only ones to vote against Donald Trump's agenda on the picks. And like somebody said, if Mitch McConnell doesn't have don't have influence no more to change votes, he's done. And I think he noticed that. He's done. At 80-some years old, this man should not be talking about politics. This man should not be making policies. This man should be sitting at home with his wife and his grandkids or his great-grandkids and enjoying his old age. And look, I don't know. It's not term limits. Let's talk about age limits. Any one of you in the chat, or anyone that's listening, you can comment if you're on Spotify. Would you really want your 80-some-year-old dad, grandfather, or great-grandfather really having that much stress of running a country or running a company? I know someone personally, they told their father, hey, look, you need to stop working. I can work. You're in your old age. Enjoy your old age. And I understand some people, they stop working and they feel like they're left out. They're forgotten. I don't know. But I'm just saying, we need more people. We need to have an age limit, or we need to have a term limit. and let new life come in there. Look, the Republican Party has all kind of young people. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Vivek Ramaswamy, Byron Donalds, all these people, they are primed to take over. Now the Democrats, I really, Hakeem Jeffries, really, we have a deeper bench than the Democrats. We need new leadership in here. Mitch McConnell shouldn't have ran last time. I said that when he ran. But we're going to see. That's going to end this episode of the Isaac Hayes Show. Again, guys, thank you for being part of the show. I am glad to be back. Thank you guys for every time I do this. If I get busy, y'all always come back and you always support me. I thank you. I appreciate y'all guys. If you can, hit the subscribe button at the bottom and, go ahead and support the show. Go ahead and support the show. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe and hit the bell. That tells you every time I go live. Also on the podcast side, go ahead and subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Also, guys, do me a favor, go ahead and check out the Brothers Just Searching podcast. Brothers Just Searching podcast is our Bible study podcast. We're talking about the book of James right now. You'll be blessed by it. It's more of a Bible study discipleship podcast. So you need to go ahead and check out the Brothers Just Searching podcast. Myself, my brother Anthony Hayes, and our good friend Bowen Roban, part of that show. Go ahead and like and subscribe that as well. Until next time, you be blessed, you be encouraged. We will see you on the next episode of the Isaac Hayes Show. Y'all be blessed.